I found out my wife was having an affair over 6 months. Finding all this out really came as a shock to me. We've been together for 14 years, married for 10, and have 2 children, 6 and 4. The last thing I ever expected was to find out she was having an affair or would cheat on me. Guys, strap in for a long one. It started about a year ago. We became friends with a couple who had similar age children as us. They lived close and we all got along really well. We started hanging out, watching each other's kids going out as a group, quite a bit over the upcoming months. My wife and the husband started to get closer to each other as they are the primary caregivers to the children, while I and other wife worked more hours and had to focus on our jobs. They clearly had similar personalities and could just talk and get along. I didn't see a lot of this since it all happened when I was away, and they were doing mutual kid of stuff together. I wasn't too worried about it though. I trusted my wife. I never had any reason to doubt her. She always had guy friends throughout our whole relationship. Through the early spring, there were ups and downs for us. She was becoming aware she was somewhat depressed and started going to counseling. She started working out and eventually losing weight. Shortly after starting counseling, she asked me to go to couples counseling. I thought things were fine and I kind of said, I think we're okay, let's see how it goes, and left it at that for the time being. She never brought up couples counseling again, and she kept acting like things were good with us. We were still sexually active. Our sex lives throughout our marriage has never been a sore spot, but probably not as active as one would like. We never went more than a month without sex and rarely more than a week. But I always knew she wanted sex more than me, which put in thoughts that I couldn't satisfy her. I had insight into this and found myself asking myself, why don't I have any often sex drive? Will this ever get better in the future itself, or probably she will be satisfied eventually? I found 2 vibrators she bought without telling me. She was clearly hiding them, but they went off overnight. The next day we talked, and my point was just to say, why didn't you just talk to me about it? Turns out, I was probably depressed as well with work and stuff, and this vibrator news kind of 5 years ago. We moved to her hometown, where she had some friends but not close friends anymore. And I had no friends at all. I have a good job, I'm a physician and make good money. But we also spend a lot of money. So I was constantly worried about money too, and that part is on me. Throughout her counseling and working out, the 4 of us, other couple and us, started hanging out more, which felt like a great decision. Oh, we finally made some friends. I was just happy about it. We started having sex more often and everything felt pretty good in June. We went on a family trip in July, and during the trip my wife told me the other wife discovered her and his text thread on her husband's phone, and it greatly upset her. She told me it was a large quantity but nothing inappropriate. She told me that there was one time she said I love you to him like a joke to him. But she said that it's all just friendly. Just friendly. I didn't even believe it when she said it. Why would she say I love you to her husband even as a joke? We used to hang out with them but never came at this level. She kind of offered to show me the texts, but in a you don't want to see the text, do you? kind of way. I had some suspicions on her at this point, but I acted like, nah, that's cool. You have guy friends, no big deal. When we got back, I started getting anxious. I don't know why, I just started to feel insecure. I noticed that the 2 of them were spending more time together. He had a week off work for the holiday with the kids on summer vacation, and I was working all the time to make up for the trip. As I got more anxious, the text kept coming up, and it turned her reaction into, you can't look at the texts, that's an invasion of my privacy. She bought him a present a week before my birthday. She had to put together with iron-on patches, and then it arrived when I was home. I felt suspicious for this package, and she gave it to him the next day while I was at work. I noticed that their relation had come to the point that they were gifting each other and taking care of each other's private life too much. The day after, my point again, why didn't she just tell me about it? I felt like I was going crazy. She bombed me with her statements like, why was I so insecure? Why can't I trust her? Why am I constantly checking to find her friends and the Nest cams in the house? She tried to defend herself by showing me that I was wrong. Now I felt like I was being replaced sexually. Before with the vibrators, then now I felt I was being replaced as a partner too, and I told her as much. I was a mess. She reassured me they are just friends. Nothing is going on, it's just like me and another guy friend, but my friend was at the upper limit of moderate. I wasn't sleeping or eating properly. So I made an appointment with a psychologist and a PCP and got started on meds. I have now been going to the therapist every week since August. Before my next guy trip in July, I talked to the wife who I work with, but she's not a doctor. About the texts, I started to learn more of the details. There was not just one I love you, but many good night, good morning almost every day, and pet names, etc. I was pretty crushed. A week earlier, my wife made out with me in her sleep and said I love you pet name, and then fell back asleep. I was confused. I asked her and she said I was the pet name, but after I learned the truth, I clearly wasn't. I talked to my wife about these details the next day. She said she was so depressed, so sad, and so upset with how I had been treating her. The last few years she almost left me, and he talked her out of it. I talked to him for a while too. I told him I'm okay with him communicating, but the I love yous and pet names need to stop. They agreed, apologized, and he said he was going to back off too. A few weeks go by. We are all hanging out and I arrive first and she doesn't really give me a hug or anything. Then they arrive and I just know she is going to hug him ASAP and she does. And I lose my mind bad on me. I overreacted for sure. I knew I was doing it and I just tried to separate myself to cool off, but she comes and is like, what the duck is wrong, and we have a fight about it. I knew I was in the wrong, but she still came to get it out of me. The next day, the other people decide amongst themselves the best thing for their family is to set a boundary, and that the male and female from our two families no longer communicate privately. I didn't love this because I was starting to be good friends with the female, but I agree, and my wife said it's bullshit, but she will respect their wishes. A couple more weeks and we are on a family trip, just us. I oversee that she has been texting him privately and texting a million other people the whole trip. It's really every time she goes to the bathroom or I go, she's on her phone. Eventually, I call her out and I was really furious. So much for boundaries, I say. It was not a good day to have this fight, but it happened and I meant what I said. I was assured they were no longer communicating privately. 3 weeks later, I get a call. She needs to tell me something. The other wife looked at the phone logs and the two of them no longer texting. Have now been talking for hours a day. 40 minutes at 4 a.m. on his way to work. 1.5 hours at night, 20 to 40 minutes during lunch every day, always. When I'm at work, I leave for overnight at 9. 1.5 hour call at that time. If I'm home at night, no call, but call at 4 a.m. literally every day. I was crushed, betrayed. She lied like directly. We started going to couples therapy. Finally, she assured me and the therapist they had no more communication, it was over, and she was working to rebuild trust. So we as families could be friends again and the kids could have their friends back. Well, a month goes by and one morning on the Nest Cam I saw my wife taking a workout selfie but with a sexual kind of pose. Later that night, I'm able to get on her computer and find her photo stream and find they have been nearly sexting. No true nudity but sensual pictures, sexy poses, underwear pics, sensual smiles that I have never seen before. Going back until August also. There are a ton of inspirational quotes about finding your second love. Not being able to be with the one you love due to outside circumstances. Being with someone who loves you for who you are and not what they want you to be. This is crushing to me. I am devastated and I am so betrayed. She told the counselor they weren't talking. I told the other wife that I and my wife talked. They were using a secret messaging app since before our trip with the big fight, but there was nothing physical. I was assured, how will this time be different? I ask over the next few days, I can't hurt you again, I can't keep lying to you. I find out that she had told him she wanted to run away with him in 5 years when kids are older, or 20 years if she has to. I'm told it was just an escape, a fantasy, but nothing physical. 2 days later, he spills the beans to his wife. They have been kissing since August, since before my hug overreaction. They had sex numerous times, at least 2 to 3. It all made sense now. She would go run errands during nights. She knew the wife would be at work and either I would be home or she would hire a sitter and she would go over there. The first night she went over, I had a bad feeling because she turned find your friends off and hired a sitter before I got home from work. I asked her the next day and she said no. I went to my friend's house. See, here's this picture I took with her. But this was definitely the first night she went to his house to sleep with him. She made sure to take a picture as an alibi. My wife still didn't tell me about this. We went to couples therapy. She explained the pictures and made a point that nothing physical happened, and then I came out with what I knew. I couldn't hold it anymore. I was devastated and she was ashamed. However, the next day she went to his work to try and talk to him to get closure and tell him sorry. He sped away and she followed for a bit, then turned around and called me. But how can I be sure that's what she wanted? How do I know she didn't go to see if there was something left with him and he wasn't just ignoring her because of what his wife made him do? Now she says she's sorry. She's crushed by what she did too and can't think of anything else. In the meantime, we had another therapy appointment and we go back tomorrow. We had a long talk about what this means and I think we both know this is heading for divorce. I'm not ever going to get past this. I don't think I will be able to trust her again. I can't. Everything I found out because someone else or I discovered it. She told me nothing that someone else didn't already discover through this whole process. I guess I'm looking for some insight into what she might be going through. There's still no transparency, and she has changed all her computer and phone iPad passwords. The therapist asked if she would share her passwords and she was like, no, it's my privacy. And the therapist was like, are you kidding me? If you want any chance of this to work, you need to be 100% transparent, but she still isn't. I don't want to have to ask for everything. At this point though, I don't even want to know and I'm asking how to proceed tomorrow. In the future, the legal stuff I can work out. I've talked to a lawyer, but timing is tough. Do I tell her tomorrow? I want to start the process of in-home separation. We have a guest bedroom. Do I separate our accounts? Everything is joint right now, but I make the majority of the money and everything is going to be split 50-50 in the end. So would this just make things acrimonious? Do I continue to just hold until our next couple session in January after the holidays? Update 1. Well, we made it through the holidays. We moved bedrooms, agreed to separate officially and be okay seeing other people if we wanted. Christmas came and went with just a little fight and overall was cordial. The more time we spent together, the more I knew this was the right decision. Eventually, I can heal, but I can't trust or get annoyed by all the little things. I listened to Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life audiobook, and it was extremely helpful. Anyone who finds out they were cheated on should listen or read it. New Year's was especially tough as it was basically the 14-year anniversary of our relationship, and although I was with my best friend ever, it was me and 14 other people, all couples. I should have stayed in town and spent the day with my single friends maybe. But I needed to see my old best friends who all knew my wife as long as I have. We had one last family vacation last weekend. A museum trip we had promised our son for his birthday but never got around to doing. It was good for the kids. It was tolerable most of the time, but the more time I spent with her, the more annoyed I got from little things and also being on her phone a lot towards the end of the days. But I held it together. I knew I had every justification to file and spring things on her and separate the finances, but I didn't. I talked to my lawyer a lot. I kept most of the finances joint and she hasn't moved money or anything. I let her see a lawyer, and after seeing him she told me either she can file or I can, and I told her I would like to and was going to file as soon as possible, and she said she was ready. So I filed yesterday, which felt great. Now she almost has a job, she has found a house, and as soon as it's closed she will start moving out. We can still coexist in the house. I think things will go smoothly, which we both want. We have agreed on custody arrangements, and due to my schedule I can have them for a lot more time during school days than most people. I get days off during the week and on weekends, so I can pick them up at 2 on school days and have them all day versus just picking them up at 5:30 if I have a 9-to-5 job. Just have to get the details hammered out in writing. I know it's unusual and maybe a little risky, but it was worth it to keep things amicable. I'm going to have to interact with her no matter what. I don't know if we will ever be great friends or not, but we still need to be able to coexist in the same room and be able to smile. A couple other things after separating and agreeing that we could see other people. I did get involved with someone. It gave me some insight into what it's like to be desired and wanted, and into what she and I were both missing from our marriage. That was good and things were fun, and that's all I signed up for from the beginning, and she knew that. But then I could tell she was getting the feels and was trying to let her down, and she told me she loved me after 12 days. Eek, I know I'm not ready for all that, so well, that's complicated. I suspect my soon-to-be ex-wife is getting involved with another man. Which I mean whatever now that she stopped dragging her feet. I didn't care, but he's married too. She knows him through a volunteer thing. She's on the board and is doing a lot of little work, and he's the new president, but they are exchanging 500 to 600 texts per day since a day or two after Christmas. I can see since there are SMS, I can't see the content, just quantify. For example, while we were on our family trip, she sent and received 270 messages from 6 to 8:30 p.m. while we were at dinner and doing bedtime, which seems excessive. She went over to do some work with him last night and was there from like 8 to 11, which isn't too long. I also have some suspicions based on text timing and frequency she has been going to his house other times. Also, there are a fair number of late night 11 to 11:30 texts, as well as texts on New Year's Eve right at midnight and later at 1 a.m. I know I need to stop digging for pain, but I can't help but feel. Can we just stop at blowing up 2 families? Should I bring this up? We have couples counseling today, mainly to talk about how we are going to proceed with the kids. It will probably be my last session, but I don't know if I should bring this up or just let it go in, or bring it up after the divorce is finalized. I also have some suspicion she knows about my girl, at which point I should probably just let things be. But she isn't saying anything. My lawyer knows all about both points above and didn't really say anything. One way or the other, I also think she could be back in contact with her AP, but I'm not sure. There was a screenshot of her secret messaging app taken on 1-1. It was scrolled up and I don't know when the messages were sent. The screenshot showed, but it was a new picture of him I hadn't seen before with a longer beard than this fall, and his name in the message was default, whereas it was named in previous screenshots. I haven't seen any other evidence, and I'm going to let this be for now, but it wouldn't surprise me. Final update. She moved out. Well, it's done. She moved out. Tonight is the first night she's not sleeping at the same house as I. She has the kids too. It's okay. I feel well. I found some good friends to hang out with tonight, and I have friends coming over tomorrow and the next night. It's still sad. I miss the good times. I miss what we had. I look at our wedding photo and see how happy she was and wonder what changed, what went wrong. I'm not sure I'll ever know. I'm going to be okay. The kids will be cared for by both of us. I still love her, but realize she has changed and doesn't love me like she used to. My Bubba. I will miss her. I'll never forget her. I'm so sad right now. I was okay, but not now.